What about you, Pastor White? What just some of the experiences so
Praise
they know?
God. Well, some of the experiences may be a little different, but I was in sin.
Right.
Correct.
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless, correct. I was in sin, of course, and you know, the wonderful thing about it, I did not know the way of holiness. I'm from the South, and from the South, we were caught up, well, I was in a heathen home, which means that my stepfather and my sisters and of course, my mother, and I did not know my biological father. I didn't see him until I was 12 years old. And you know what? A lot of times, wonderful people in the audience, if the father is not in the home, we usually tell the children how bad the father is and what the father has done, and that they don't need the father, so to speak. And but let me tell you what it really does. It really makes that child really want to know the father for themselves. And so that was my quest. I had to want to know, before they got the internet and you could search and find, I wanted to know who was my father, because I had two older sisters and they had their father somewhere else. And maybe that's how I got to Chicago. But coming to Chicago, I was determined. Back in those days, you know, when they had the color fountain and the white fountain, and we were sent to, I had a wonderful grandmother, was not saved. So sometimes the people in your life are wonderful, but they may not be saved at that time. So she wanted to make sure that my sisters and I got a good education. So she sent us to the Catholic schools and paid for us to get a good education. Because sometimes in this generation, you want to make sure that your children get a better lifestyle than you had. Right. And that was her quest, not knowing that she was putting me right in the middle of where God wanted me. And so to make a good long story short, I went to school. I went to school because I didn't want to do domestic work. I wanted to be a wonderful secretary. And so I went to Alcorn University, and again, I still wanted to see my father. And I came to Chicago, 12 years old, of course, and you know how that is. He was living with someone else and was raising somebody else's children. But I had two wonderful grandmothers, which was his mother, and I could not understand why my father was taking care of someone else's children and not taking care of me. And to make a good, wonderful, long story short, he was just what my mother said he was. He was a liar. Yes, he was. He was a liar. You have to stop me. I'll go on.
Okay. So your experiences are that you've experienced not having a father,
correct,
not feeling necessarily loved or wanted by your father.
But I had a wonderful stepfather.
Okay.
See, when somebody else step out, God will let somebody else step in.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then also you have been married before.
Yes, I have.
Right?
Correct.
So you were you saved when you married the first time?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But I didn't know that the person I married wasn't saved.
Oh. Let's talk about that. I know it's some of them out there. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there, because you know we've seen a lot of marriages in the kingdom that appear to be two saved partners. Because that's one of the things that is amazing.
Well, this one really is going to shock you, because this particular person directed Pastor Allen, and I to Brother Shambach's meeting, because we thought he was saved.
Okay. So in the course of, so you weren't saved yet, because you got saved at Shambach's meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in the course of that, this person directed you there, so he had the appearance of being saved.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and so then what happened there?
Well, a lot of things happened.
Well, okay, well, all right, so you fell in love, obviously.
Well, you know what? once you get saved and you think that somebody else is saved and they're in the church, you know, that's the next thing to do. You know, you want to marry someone that is saved.
So let's talk about that, because, you know, and we're just going to talk about topics as they come up, okay? Mm-hmm. And remember, if you have a question, who has the microphone? Just raise your hand. The microphone's in the back. You can come up as we're discussing. If something comes up in your spirit, I want you to ask the question. Because I would like to discuss this a little further, because I know as pastors, you see a lot of people that get in this situation.
Mm-hmm. True.
And what we're talking about this stuff is so that they can get the wisdom that you can
Absolutely.
see where people make these kinds of mistakes. How many of you out here can admit you made this mistake? That you married somebody that you thought was saved, only to find out. Some of y'all don't want to raise your hand, say he's still in the church, sister.
Okay.
Okay, come on now. So let's talk about what you think maybe you missed, or what even you may see in members and other cases, Pastor Rhonda, that you see this situation happen over and over again to help this not be repeated, or a pattern that maybe you can see. But let's start with your case. Looking back, were there signs that you think you ignored, or
well, hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight, correct, because this person was in the church, and of course, a newborn saint.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's where I missed it.
Okay.
Being a newborn saint and thinking that this person is truly saved.
So do you think it's not wise to marry if you're newly saved or they are newly saved?
I think it's wise to get counseling. I think it's wise to go to people of wisdom.
Yes.
And let them direct. And I think it's wise to wait instead of just jumping into marriage because someone say that they're saved.
Right.
Correct. Because they say they're saved, but the characteristics, and now if you're young, you don't know what to look for. Mm-hmm. But if you go to someone, your pastor, whomever, that have the wisdom, then they will tell you, wait. They will tell you, have counseling with you, so that you won't hastily jump into it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Correct.
Pastor Rhonda, what do you tell people? I know you've seen the situation before.
Yes, I have, and because I don't really have a personal testimony, because when I got saved, my husband and I, we both got saved together. Mm-hmm. So when we got together, we weren't saved. But in the ministry, I always I would like to admonish young men and young women, or old men, or old women, because I mean there are people that are single that are not young,
right?
You know,
right?
Is that they allow, first of all, they allow God to develop a relationship with God themselves, so that they can get delivered and get some of these issues that they have personally. Because oftentimes, you know, and I understand that there is a lot of situations where you may have married the wrong person, or this person wasn't saved, or what have you. But I've seen situations where this was a good person. This was a good brother, but the woman had all the issues. She had she hadn't yet been delivered, and thought that being married was the answer
to her problem.
But it wasn't the answer, because there was yet some things going on within her that God had yet not delivered her from. And what happens is, because we want to be married, and we should, and that's a desire that God placed in us, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we need to make sure, and this is what I admonish the young ladies in my ministry, is that you make sure that God has prepared you and take you from being a girlfriend to a wife, because there's a difference. See, some women are girlfriends but not wives.
Okay, so